Have you ever found yourself wide awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering what went wrong? Maybe you thought it was stress. Maybe you blamed your bladder. Or maybe, just maybe, it was the sandwich you ate after dinner. You see, for millions of Americans over 60, the real reason behind a restless night or a foggy morning isn't just about how long they sleep, but what they ate beforehand. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But the truth is, the wrong bedtime foods can quietly sabotage your brain, not just for one night, but for years to come. And here's the wake-up call. Most people think of food as fuel, something you enjoy, then forget. But for your brain, food is information. It's a message. And the message you send at night just before bed can either say, rest, repair, and restore, or stay alert, inflamed, and confused. So the question becomes, what message are you sending? Because while your head hits the pillow, your brain doesn't shut off. In fact, that's when it goes to work, clearing toxins, rewiring memories, rebuilding itself. But feed it the wrong thing, and instead of healing, it fights. That's why in today's episode, we're starting with a truth no one talks about. Your brain isn't just affected by what you eat, it's shaped by when you eat it. Let's change that. Welcome back. This is the place where timeless wisdom meets cutting-edge science, where growing older doesn't mean slowing down, but stepping into a new kind of strength. If this is your first time here, here's what we do. We explore the real science of aging well, not just what to eat or which supplements to take, but how to live in a way that keeps your mind sharp, your body steady, and your energy grounded. And today, we're taking a different approach, because most health advice tells you what to add. More nutrients, more routines, more steps to follow. But what if the real transformation happens when you take something away? What if your clearest mind, your best sleep, and your strongest memory come not from doing more, but from avoiding one simple, silent mistake? That's exactly what we're diving into today. This episode isn't about meditation or blue light. It's about the 5 most common foods people over 60 are still eating before bed, thinking they're harmless, when in fact, they're quietly blocking the brain from doing its most important job: overnight repair. We're going to go through each one. I'll explain what's happening inside your brain when you eat them, how they affect your sleep, and what to swap in instead. Because healing doesn't always mean effort. Sometimes it means letting go of what no longer serves you. And that starts now. Let's begin with one of the biggest offenders, the food that pretends to be light, but ends up triggering chaos deep in the night. Before we dive into the foods themselves, let me reintroduce someone who's no stranger to this conversation, and certainly no stranger to healthy aging. Joining us again is Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara. If you followed our podcast, you already know the name. But for those who don't, Dr. Hinohara is over 100 years old. Yes, you heard that right. Still practicing medicine, still teaching, and still sharp as ever. He's a legend in Japan, often credited with helping redefine what it means to grow old with strength, grace, and mental clarity. He's seen firsthand what aging does to the brain, and more importantly, what habits protect it. And if there's one thing he repeats over and over, it's this: the brain doesn't shut down when we sleep. That's when it begins its real work. But when we eat the wrong foods before bed, we interrupt that work. And over time, the damage adds up. Let's hear from him directly as we begin our journey through the 5 foods most seniors should never eat before bedtime. Let's start with the most overlooked, but perhaps most damaging, group of bedtime foods: refined carbohydrates. Think white bread, pasta, saltine crackers, even those low-fat cookies or healthy granola bars that claim to be light and heart-friendly. They don't taste sugary, but inside your body, they act just like sugar. And here's the problem. When you eat refined carbs before bed, you're not giving your brain fuel. You're giving it confusion. Refined carbs break down quickly in the bloodstream, spiking your blood sugar, then dropping it just as fast. That crash doesn't happen while you're awake. It hits while you're sleeping. And when that drop happens in the middle of the night, your brain panics. It triggers cortisol, your stress hormone. It tells your liver, we need glucose now. It might even wake you up, fully or partially, just to fix the imbalance. Ever wonder why you randomly wake up at 2:30 a.m.? Why you feel unrested even after 8 hours? It might not be your mattress. It might be your dinner roll. And for people over 60, this effect is even more pronounced. As we age, our glucose regulation becomes less efficient. Our insulin response slows down. So a simple bowl of pasta at night can have ripple effects hours later, disrupting deep sleep, REM cycles, and leaving us foggy the next day. One study published in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine found that high consumption of refined carbohydrates was strongly associated with nighttime awakenings in adults over 65. Another study, using data from Haynes, showed that diets rich in low-quality carbs were linked to poor sleep patterns, more snoring, daytime fatigue, and insomnia symptoms. Even more striking, a Columbia University study found that postmenopausal women who ate more refined carbs had a significantly higher risk of developing chronic insomnia. So what do we do instead? Don't take away the ritual, replace it. Instead of crackers or toast, go for a half banana with almond butter, or a spoonful of chia pudding, or a few tablespoons of Greek yogurt with cinnamon. These foods digest slowly. They support steady blood sugar overnight, and they give your brain what it needs to stay in repair mode, not survival mode. Because here's what most people forget. Your brain doesn't need stimulation at night. It needs stillness. Stillness isn't silent, it's active healing, but only if you get out of the brain's way. And the fastest way to do that? Ditch the refined carbs before bed. Your memory will thank you. Now let's talk about the sweet stuff. Sugar. Not just the obvious desserts, but also the quiet culprits. Sweetened teas, chocolate squares, flavored yogurts, and yes, even some of those healthy granola bars that are more candy than nourishment. For many people, especially after retirement, sugar becomes a comfort ritual. A cookie with evening TV, a piece of chocolate after dinner. It feels harmless. It feels gentle. But what it does to your brain while you sleep is anything but gentle. Here's how it works. Sugar, especially refined sugar, causes a spike in blood glucose. Your body rushes to release insulin. That insulin brings your glucose down, often too fast. That drop signals the release of cortisol, your stress hormone. Cortisol is meant to help us survive danger, but at night it does the opposite of what your brain needs. It stimulates, it wakes, it fragments. So instead of drifting into deep, restorative sleep, the kind that clears out toxins and protects memory, you hover in shallow, broken cycles. You might not even notice, but your brain does. And over time, that disrupted pattern leads to more than just morning grogginess. It leads to brain fog, slower recall, mood swings, even long-term cognitive decline. One 2023 study from Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience found that higher glucose variability during sleep, those ups and downs from sugar, was strongly linked to poorer memory scores the next day in adults over 60. That's not just a theory. That's a direct, measurable impact on how your brain performs the very next morning. And the kicker? Seniors are even more sensitive to these fluctuations. The older brain doesn't recover as quickly. What a 25-year-old might bounce back from in one night, a 65-year-old may carry for days. So if you've been reaching for a sweet treat before bed, thinking it'll help you relax, let me offer a gentle reframe. It's relaxing your mood, but tensing your brain. It's like turning off the lights in your house, but leaving the music blasting. The better approach? If you're craving something sweet at night, try this instead. A few slices of apple with almond butter, or half a date paired with a handful of walnuts. These options offer natural sweetness, but with fiber and fat to slow digestion, keeping your blood sugar stable, your insulin calm, and your brain free to do what it's designed to do. Heal, remember, and reset. Because sleep isn't just rest, it's repair. And sugar, especially at night, is the enemy of repair. Swap it out and you don't just wake up clearer, you stay clearer for years to come. Let's move to something crunchy, something salty, something so common in American homes it almost feels like part of the evening routine. Fried foods, chips, fries, fried chicken leftovers, even that crispy snack mix in the cupboard. We often reach for them out of habit. A little salt, a little crunch. It feels comforting, familiar. But when you eat fried foods at night, you're not just feeding your taste buds, you're feeding inflammation. Here's why. Fried foods are usually cooked in oils that have been heated to high temperatures, sometimes reused, sometimes partially hydrogenated. That creates trans fats and oxidized compounds. What do those do? First, they slow down digestion. Unlike light meals that pass through easily, fried foods sit heavy in your stomach. Your body stays busy for hours trying to process them. That means instead of diverting energy to the brain, to clean up waste, reinforce memory, and protect neurons, your body is stuck focused on your gut. Second, those fats travel through your bloodstream and trigger neuroinflammation. That's not just a buzzword. Neuroinflammation is one of the biggest drivers of age-related memory loss. It disrupts communication between brain cells, slows signal speed, and wears down protective brain structures over time. A 2018 study published in Neurology showed that people with diets high in trans fats and saturated fats, especially when consumed in the evening, scored significantly lower on memory and recall tests. And the older the participant, the more pronounced the effect. Why? Because aging brains have fewer antioxidants and slower detox systems. So what might just feel like a handful of chips can become a 12-hour roadblock in your brain's overnight repair cycle. I had one patient, 71 years old, who told me she loved having a small bowl of cheese puffs at night. It's just my little thing, she said, but she also noticed she woke up groggy, sluggish, and she thought it was her age. When we removed the snack, replaced it with air-popped popcorn and herbal tea, within 10 days she felt sharper. She even started remembering small details, where she left her keys, what she meant to do the day before. Because sometimes it's not age, it's just inflammation. So here's the takeaway. Don't take away the routine. Take away the trigger. Instead of chips or fried snacks, try roasted pumpkin seeds or lightly salted popcorn with a drizzle of olive oil. You still get the crunch, you still get the comfort, but you don't get the brain fog. And over time, that small shift, it adds up to something big. Because every night you let your brain rest without interference, you're building the kind of clarity that lasts. Now let's talk about something that often hides behind a healthy label, especially in diets like keto or low carb, processed meats. I'm talking about deli slices, bacon, sausages, salami, and even those ready-to-eat turkey packs you might grab as a quick protein snack before bed. They seem harmless, high in protein, low in sugar, but inside your body they do something far more disruptive, especially as you sleep. First, they're often loaded with sodium, and when you consume a high-salt food before bed, it can subtly raise your blood pressure and cause fluid retention. That increased pressure makes it harder for your heart to relax, and by extension, for your brain to slip into deep sleep. But that's just the beginning. Most processed meats also contain preservatives like nitrates and nitrites. These compounds may help keep the meat shelf-stable and visually appealing, But once inside the body, they contribute to inflammation, particularly in the brain. And brain inflammation, as we've seen again and again, is one of the strongest predictors of cognitive decline after 60. Now, here's a real story. I had a patient, 67 years old, who came to me with constant morning brain fog and headaches. She suspected sleep apnea. She tried melatonin, new pillows, even a CPAP machine. Nothing worked, so we looked deeper. Every night, she'd have a small plate of cured meats and cheese as a snack. It's low carb, she told me. It helps me avoid sugar. But it was doing more harm than she realized. We removed the processed meats and swapped in a handful of walnuts, a little avocado, and a sprinkle of magnesium-rich pumpkin seeds. Within 2 weeks, yes, just two, her clarity came back. She stopped waking up in a haze. She started remembering things faster. Because sometimes it's not about adding more. It's about removing what blocks the brain from healing. Now, I'm not saying all meat is bad, but if it comes in plastic, vacuum sealed, or needs no refrigeration for weeks, that's a sign your brain might not love it, especially at night. So if you're craving something savory before bed, try a boiled egg with olive oil, a few slices of avocado, or even plain Greek yogurt with a dash of sea salt and turmeric. Your brain doesn't need complexity at night. It needs calm. And calm doesn't come in a package of salami. Now, this next one might surprise you because it's not technically a food, but for your brain, it behaves like one. I'm talking about alcohol. Whether it's a glass of wine, a splash of bourbon, or even a relaxing nightcap, many people over 60 believe that a small drink helps them unwind before bed. And in some ways, they're right. Alcohol can help you fall asleep faster, but falling asleep isn't the same as sleeping well. Here's what alcohol really does. It suppresses melatonin, the hormone your brain needs to regulate your sleep cycle. That means even if you fall asleep quickly, the quality of that sleep is severely compromised. You lose REM cycles, those deep, dream-rich stages where your brain consolidates memory and repairs emotional stress. And you experience more micro-awakenings, tiny moments when your brain becomes alert, even if your body doesn't fully wake up. You don't always remember them, but your brain does. The result? You wake up feeling like you barely slept. And over time, those nightly disruptions add up. A 2020 study in sleep health tracked older adults and found that even low levels of alcohol before bed reduced slow-wave sleep by over 30%. And remember, slow-wave sleep is critical for brain detoxification. It's when your glymphatic system flushes out toxins, including beta amyloid, the protein linked to Alzheimer's. So when you skip that stage night after night, you're not just missing rest, you're missing the brain's nightly cleaning crew. And over the years, that creates buildup, fog, forgetfulness, frustration. So what's the solution? Do you have to give up alcohol completely? Not necessarily, but timing matters. If you enjoy a drink, have it with dinner. Several hours before bed. Give your body time to metabolize it so it doesn't disrupt the deeper stages of sleep. And on most nights, replace that nightcap with a calming ritual. A cup of chamomile tea, lemon balm, or a warm, magnesium-rich blend. These not only soothe your body, they signal your brain that it's time to shift into healing mode. Because true rest isn't just about shutting your eyes. It's about giving your brain the space and silence it needs to repair. And alcohol, even in small doses, steals that silence. Now, by this point, you might be thinking, wait a minute, these are all things I thought were fine, and you're not alone. That's the twist most people never see coming. Because if you look closely, 3 out of these 5 foods have something in common. They're often part of a reward, a little snack to wind down, a sip to celebrate the evening, a small bite to feel cozy before bed. But here's the uncomfortable truth. What we often see as treats are actually the very things stealing our clarity. They comfort the moment, but rob the repair. So the question becomes, what's more important, a quick taste or long-term brain health? Because you can have both. You just need to choose differently. And as we move to the final item on our list, it's one more example of something that seems harmless, maybe even healthy, but turns out to be the sneakiest thief of all. Let's take a look. So what have we really learned today? That aging isn't just about genetics. It's not just about time. It's about accumulation. Little habits, tiny choices, night after night, year after year. And the good news is, what's accumulated can also be cleared because your brain is not broken. It's burdened. Burdened by messages it was never meant to process at midnight. Burdened by inflammation, by sugar, by chemicals disguised as food. But when you take those burdens away, even just a few, you give your brain something powerful, a chance to come back, not through a miracle cure, not through a new pill, but through peace, through sleep that actually heals, through nights where the brain isn't fighting food, but flowing through its repair cycle, clearing toxins, securing memory, and waking you up to who you really are. That's not just possible. It starts tonight. One choice, one small swap, one message of stillness sent to your brain. Because sometimes the most powerful medicine is removing the poison. Now I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you used to eat before bed that you've now let go of? And what changed for you when you did? Because when you share your story, you're not just reflecting, you're lighting the way for someone else. Someone out there tonight is struggling with the same fog, the same fatigue, the same quiet frustration you once felt. And your comment, your insight, your one small success might be exactly what they need to take the first step. So scroll down. Let us know. What did you stop eating and what did your brain thank you for? We read every reply, and who knows, your story just might be featured in an upcoming episode. Until then, sleep well. And remember, feed your brain peace, not problems, before you sleep.